Well, if you're like me and you follow a lot of people that cover college football, your timeline's getting polluted right now with.
Yes.
Get hyped, John.
Listen, I'm
John.
You know what?
I
You know what?
People having fun.
I'm going to start to turn on this video game if this is going to be what this is like.
John,
I mean,
you're turning on the video game because you're old and don't like fun.
No, I'll stand with John on this one. This is, this is like when I get annoyed by every Nebraska media member tweeting the score at the end of the first quarter.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing. We need to have one designated score tweeter.
Right.
And for this, we need to have one. I nominate Jeremy Crabtree because he's the one who I see quoting everything the most today. Jeremy Crabtree is the official quote tweeter of any video game news, or author Matt Brown, because he's been reporting on this for years now.
Here's a better idea. Here's a better idea. Wait until everybody is opted in and then just make one big announcement.
Yeah, but then they wouldn't be able to get more,
It's about the engagement, John. The
bingo.
The numbies.
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, the people that are going to buy this stupid thing, they're already going to buy it.
Hank, John,
The fact that Quidshawn Jenkins just tweeted out that he's going to be in the game is not going to change
That's who I was waiting
anybody's
for,
name.
John. Now I'm going to get it for sure.
I can't wait for someone on Nebraska's team that is not that great to say that they're in the game and John to turn on this player.
I'm not going to turn on them.
Yeah.
I'm just.
Are you going to say
Bryce
it right away?
Benhart is announced he's in the game.
Oh, I can't wait to. I'm going to play as Nebraska so I can cut him from the team right away.
Sheesh, Nick.
Well, EA Sports, they made the announcement today that every player that opts in and allows their name, image, and likeness, or NIL, to appear in College Football 25 will get $600 and a copy of the video game,
Which is worth $70.
So they're getting.
Dang, games are so expensive now.
They're
Yeah,
getting
they've increased.
$670 in value for their name, image, and likeness. The
That's
company
awesome.
They also announced that every FBS
partnering
team is
with
gonna be in the game, too.
Learfield's Compass NIL app, and they can all opt in. Now, yes, that means everyone from the Quidshawn Jenkins of the world all the way down to the Bryce Benharts and the backup kickers.
The Daniel Kalins of the world
will all get paid the same for being in the game.
Wow, I'm sensing there is a lot of sarcasm in John's tone right now.
No,
Where is this coming from?
Nope, there's no sarcasm.
I'm John, and I hate people having fun and money.
And money.
But consider
See,
this.
Here's the but. I knew it.
Hold on. Now listen.
Here we go.
Listen.
EA Sports is worth $37 billion. That's
Yes.
billion with a B.
Mm-hmm.
This video game is going to net them a lot of money.
Yeah.
There are roughly 1,100 or 11,000 players in college football, so they're getting $600 a piece. If you do the math, that's $6.6 million that they're paying out in NIL deals.
That's a lot of money.
But as a percentage of what they're getting of the video game,
6.6 million real fast. So you'd have to make, just to equal that, you'd have to sell 94,285 copies.
And then don't forget EA has other properties.
Correct.
that they
There's
also
costs
sell
involved
and-
with the game.
I understand that.
So you're
other
saying
games
this
that
is
they
too
do.
little? So are you going to bat for the players right now? What are you going to bat for?
Well, I do wonder.
Comrade John
I
again.
knew that you were going to do this.
No. What do you knew I was going to do
You
this?
did exactly what I expected you to do today.
And what is that?
You're about to say, are we sure that everyone's going to sign up for this? Because it's not a whole lot of money.
Are we sure?
See?
No,
See?
hold on.
You're
Are
doing
we
what
sure?
I thought.
Are we sure there's not going to be someone who's going to be told, wait a minute. If we don't have you in this video game's not as valuable.
So what's the point of signing if you are not signing up? What do you gain by not signing up for it? You actually lose money. That would be a stupid decision.
No, you don't lose anything.
You lose potential revenue. You lose a
You're
potential
not losing anything.
You don't get $600
or the game.
Right.
For
But
free.
if you're a valuable enough, this is the reason why a Barry Bonds was not in the EA Sports games in the past.
Sure.
A Michael Jordan wasn't in there in the past. You know, going way back, I remember, was it Randall Cunningham would never be in some of these games because it's like, you know
So,
what? I'm not buying into this because I think I am more valuable.
There's no player like that in college football in 2024.
But
And
also,
there may not be, and I'm not even saying that this would even be player inspired. I do wonder though, if the lawyers who get involved or any people who are representing folks from an NIL standpoint would say, hold on a second.
So
hold on a second. You might not be, you guys aren't getting what you should be getting for this.
Right. But if the way I could see EA doing this is like, okay, you won't be in the game. And then they already have creative players and you can edit players. And then the community will just make the players that aren't included anyway.
Well, they could do that anyway, but it's just the notion of being out there. See, that's the unusual nature of this versus how it is done in the professional sports. In the professional sports, the games all have agreements with the players' unions.
Mm-hmm.
There is no players' union. That's the unusual nature of how they're doing this is, yes, everyone is signing up through this NIL collective, but they're technically not representing these players. If we ever got to the point where there is a college football or college athletes players union, then a video game like this would be dealing directly with the union. That's what I'm saying. Because right now, there's a lot of employment law or employment lawyers or people in that ilk who are dying for college athletes to become unionized.
Of course.
And those are the folks I wonder if they're going to, get into someone's ear and say, now, wait a minute. Is this a fair deal for all of you?
All right, so let me ask you this then. Why do you care? And why should I care? And why should anyone else care?
Well, that's just why should we care about anything involving big business in college football?
Well, it's not going to delay the game from coming out if there's a holdout.
I'm not even suggesting that.
I know, it just seems like you want there to be something to get upset about.
No, I'm not saying there's. I'm not upset about it.
This will have.
I'm just bringing up something that is a reality of 2024, and that is when it comes to things like this, there's always going to be somebody else involved who's going to say, "But wait a minute, shouldn't I be getting more of the pie?"
I don't think.
All I'm saying.
I don't think that there's going to be that. I don't think that situation's going to happen. I think EA is just going to be like,
happen.
Well, yeah, but I don't think EA is going to care. Like EA isn't
going to.
Well,
yeah, the game will still go on. If Notre Dame hadn't opted into the game, they still would have gone forward with the game. I'm not saying this is going to stop the game from happening.
The question that I asked a couple of minutes ago is honestly the one that I would go back to. And I would say, is there anyone in the sport that can command that type of power? And at this moment, the answer is no. A year ago, the answer would have been probably, because Caleb Williams was still in the game. If there was a women's basketball equivalent, there is one player in that sport that would be able to say, whoa, I deserve more money. And her name is Caitlin Clark. And that's what's interesting about college football at this juncture is there isn't that player at this moment in time. So look, I don't mean to poo-poo your question. I just don't care about it for like this year, because that's like a future problem that we can deal with.
But you see, it's not even necessary. It doesn't even have to be about a player, a great player. It could be someone that gets into the ear of many players and says, wait a minute, $600 and a copy of the video game for what they're making on this. See, no one has negotiated this $6.6 million figure on behalf of any player. This was a number that they set.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'd be very interested to know how they came to that number, right?
Sure.
I did the math, though. I mean, that is a lot of money. I know that 6.6 million. I do wonder, Happer asked this earlier, and I thought it was a great question. How much do people really care about this game in terms of a buying perspective? We have talked about this game at any piece of news. One person in the studio is going to buy the game, and that's Nick.
Yes.
So that's
right,
we talk about
it, but we're not in the market.
No, we are though. Our age group are the audience that will drive the purchases.
But we as individuals,
sure. But we are college football fans, and we do have we have buying power. I could afford it if I wanted it. I just don't want it. So I'm curious as to the interest level in this. Like how for many, many years, there was all this discussion about late night television. There was more discourse about late night TV than there were people watching it. Everyone had an opinion. And I wonder if that's a similar situation to this. And so that's why $600 does not sound like that much. I'm not trying to say it's like an exorbitant amount of money, but $600 times 11,000 players is $6.6 million. I assume the game will make more than that. How much more are we talking about, though? Because
it'll make much more than that.
You think so?
Yes.
Wow.
I think EA's other properties are going to make more than this game.
Well, this isn't about what this does versus any other EA Sports game. Obviously, they wouldn't have budgeted this if they didn't think it was a good deal for them.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know, like, how many copies of Madden are sold every year? And then,
EA Sports is not in the business of losing money.
No, of course not. I'm just saying, I don't know if they're going to be, making money hand over fist on this, comparatively. Just, again, college football's audience is much smaller than the Madden audience.
Yeah, but you realize there's a lot of people who play these games who don't watch the sport.
Yeah, but will that happen for college football?
It did in the past.
It might introduce kids to college.
Yeah,
football.
look, I'm just asking the question. I think where I find this
and here's the bigger question. There's a reason why this game's been on the shelf for over a decade.
Well, yeah, we know why.
Because of the lawsuits. This is supposed to be the workaround to that. This is supposed to be the workaround saying, okay, now we're going to, but the question will be, is that a fair price to have this? And all it takes is one good attorney or one good representative to get in the ears of enough people to say, yeah, you know what? I've crunched the numbers and you guys are worth a lot more than this.
See, I will say that I think the number of players that will sign this are going to be in the 90 some odd. Like, this is going to be such a high number. I don't think that there are going to be holdouts. I don't think that we are going to get to July or whenever this game comes out and be like, wow, look at all the players that are not in the game. I think it's going to be loaded. I think the rosters are going to essentially be full of almost every player.
You're right. Most of the people that you're seeing sign up, and keep in mind, they're also going to sign endorsement deals with some of the bigger stars.
Correct. And I think that's what a lot of these names that are coming out today are probably going
absolutely
to be.
They are.
I think there will be FOMO. Like, if I'm a college player, even if I have someone above me getting in my ear saying, no, you're worth more than that, but I see everybody else doing it, it's the old adage. If everyone jumped off a bridge with you too, I'm like, yeah, but I want to be on the video game. I don't want to not be on the video game.
Absolutely. There's going to be a lot. But again, all it takes is somebody out there to raise enough of a stink to say, now, wait a minute, is this enough? And as we have
found out, I feel like that's a future problem. I don't think it's going to be
this is also problem. It's going to be a yearly title. It's an EA game. It's going to be a yearly title. Is it $600 every game?
I just don't think it's going to be a problem this year.
Are they getting $600 for each game that they're in school?
It's just this game.
Just this one? So with the next, when 26 comes out, they're not going to get another $600?
No, they'd get another $600.
That's what I'm saying. So it's basically $600 a year for the next 4 or 5 years, however long you're in school.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just like a one and done thing, which feels a little better.
Travis says they likely chose $600 because at that amount they are required to issue 1099s, the cheapest amount they can pay them, and file a document showing proof of payment to avoid legal disputes down the road.
Oh, that's better.
But again, it's not about that, but it is about who negotiated this. No one negotiated this on behalf of any players.
Mm-hmm.
This was not a players union doing this. And eventually, at some point, the way college sports is moving, we're going to eventually have a players union. And so this conversation will be much different. Johnny Pig points out that EA makes about $600 million a year on Madden. 156,000 copies of Madden were sold in the first 10 months.
Okay, great. I'm happy to have those numbers. I do not think that this game will be anywhere near those numbers.
I think it'll be bigger because it's the first
one.
Than
Madden?
Not than Madden. I think a lot of people will buy it because it's the first one of the new series. And then as the years go on, a lot of people like me don't buy a sports game every year. I'll buy it every few years.
Yeah.
So then I think the numbers will go down after that. It'll be a good boost on this one, but
Certainly.
I think it'll drop
absolutely
slowly.
Here is Andrew. Hi, Andrew. Thanks for waiting. You're on the zone.
How you doing?
Hey,
Good.
Andrew.
I have a son who gets the Madden football game every year. And he can build his team, he can make rosters, he can do all this. But there is a large group of people that are in their 50s and 40s that I think you would be surprised how much they play video games. I think this thing's going to sell through the roof.
No,
Well,
and
I agree.
Yeah, and I hope that no one is hearing. I don't want anyone to hear me and saying I don't think it's going to sell well. I just am curious overall, like the interest. Like this one will have an explosion for sure because it's the first in a decade. I'm not going to argue against that.
Yeah, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, and also people can, make their teams be what they aren't. Like, let's say Nebraska right now hasn't been a very good team. But with these games, you can create your team to be through past players or whatever you draft through the game or whatever.
Oh, yeah. It's fantasy booking is what it is. Absolutely.
There's a lot of nostalgia that older people get in playing these games.
100%.
Andrew, appreciate it.
Thanks, Andrew.
Yeah, I think this one will sell really, really well.
I agree with this text from Jeff. If a player holds out or threatens lawsuit, they just won't be in the game. MJ wasn't in the B-ball games in past years. Yeah,
and again, I'm not talking about just a player. I'm saying if someone comes along and tells the group meaning all of college athletes, hey, you guys should be getting more than this, and enough people opt in, and you start to raise a stink. It's about how this number was reached, and it was not done so with representation of the players who are actually getting the money.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it works in the pro sports games.
So are you essentially telling fans like you need to be worried?
No, I'm not saying they need to be worried because you're right. The game will probably still come out, but these will be the things that they will have to work through at some point, and the numbers are going to change. I just wonder if, I'm just curious how they reached that number.
Yeah.
And, you're right. I mean, is there a value in having the second string offensive tackle and everything? Yeah. But they realize they have to do it for everybody. But all it takes is a couple of flies in the ointment and it all.
But then what? But then it's like, but what happens? Okay, well, you're not on the game. Like
and then somebody will make the person and put him in the game.
There's a reason why this game didn't exist for 10 years.
I know. I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just saying, like, if the fear is, oh no, what if players don't play, like, go on the game? Then, like, oh well, like. My reaction to this news was not like this conversation has now gone to negative town. I wanted to go to positivity town and say, I'm happy to all the video game people out there that you'll have your game now. And Jimmy Allen will be wrong.
When you were of the game,
oh yeah,
when you would buy it, were you doing it to play with specific players or were you doing it not a franchise mode to build a dynasty mode? And baby. That's what it is with this game. Some people think it'll be cool to play with players that they see, but I think the dynasty is the selling point on this game for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's just the game. The selling point on the game is the game. It's the schools. It's I can make Nebraska good. I can make Utah good.
Because
I can make Kansas good.
After a little bit in the game, you're not going to have those players anyway.
Dynasty mode makes those players, it renders them useless. Mm-hmm. Travis says, negative John trying to bring down the vibe.
Unless they do that thing that
John got in the car and we were driving down the road and he was like, oh, there's an exit. And I said, what's the exit? Negative town.
Oh,
here we are.
Unless they do that thing that they didn't, was it Madden 25 where you could transfer players from the college game into your franchise in the NFL game? Mm-hmm. That'd be fun.
Severe says Bill Walsh 94 still the greatest game ever.
Super Tecmo Bowl.
Wow.
Super Tecmo Bowl was great.
Get the Atari.
No, that was on Nintendo.
That square is passing that square to that square. This is football.
Listen, it's not for me.
Dave writes, the question is, what happens if an entire team, say Bama, holds out for more money?
And that's what I'm saying.
That's what John.
It's when groups of people get together. There'd
be a revolt from the Bama fan base. No, get your ass in that video game.
Mm-hmm.